Well, good evening, friends. I hope that you're doing well, that you're healthy, that you're ready to think about God and His Word here for a few minutes this evening. I've really enjoyed looking at the benefits of Christianity over the last few days. I hope that you have found it informative and helpful as well. This evening, what I want us to look at is a benefit of Christianity that is, I think, many times overlooked and really not thought about all that much, and that is the fact that there is safety in being a faithful Christian. Now, a person might say to themselves, what do you mean that there's safety in being a faithful Christian? In fact, faithful Christians at times have been persecuted, have even been put to death, murdered, people like Stephen in Acts chapter 7. So, what do you mean that there is safety in Christianity? Well, I'm not getting at with that statement that nothing bad will ever happen to you or nobody will ever be able to hurt you. I'm saying that there is safety in Christianity in the sense that whenever man does things God's way, he will avoid a whole host of troubles that man gets himself into whenever he does things his own way. Stop and think about this for a second before I endeavor to show this to you biblically. Have you ever thought that there was something that would make you happy, and whenever you got it, it didn't make you happy? In fact, it might have been bad for you. You know, there are times where people say, if I only had a certain job, that job would make me happy. And they get into that career field and find out that they're very unhappy and that it's not good for them. You know, there are many times that we, as frail, limited in knowledge people, will think that there is something that's good for us that is not good for us. The way that the little child is just certain that if he can touch that oven, it will make him happy. It's what he wants to do. And little does he know that when he touches it, it's going to burn him. Well, that's how we all are. Ultimately, we, left to our own, will not be able to live our lives in a way that will be good, that will lead to lasting joy and happiness. In fact, we hurt ourselves whenever we're left to our own. God did not just arbitrarily make rules. In fact, when you read First Corinthians chapter 10, Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 13, you read there that the commandments from God were for the good of the people. And so God's commandments are for our good. Deuteronomy 10 and verse 13. And so God's way is always better than our way. Why? Because God is the one who designed us. He designed the human mind. He designed the human body. He knows what will be good for us. He has all knowledge. We have virtually no knowledge compared to what God has. And so God's way is always better. For instance, what does God say about sex, for example? Well, the Bible indicates that God expects sex to take place between a man and a woman that are married to each other and that are faithful to only each other. Well, what does the world say? Well, that you can enjoy intimacy, physical, sexual intimacy with whoever you want to. It doesn't matter however many partners you want to have, as long as you're consenting adults. That's all that matters. Well, what has that resulted in? Well, it's resulted in diseases, some diseases which you can never get rid of and oftentimes lead to the death of the person. It has resulted in children being born into broken homes where their mom and daddy are not married to each other, and it results in all sorts of complications. It results in heartbreak and hurt feelings and all sorts of terrible things. What does God say about marriage? How long is that supposed to last? Well, the Bible's very clear, especially when you read Matthew 19, that marriage is to be between a man and a woman for life. That is, they are not to split up. The only thing that is to split them up should be death. That's the only thing that should do it. Well, what does man say? Well, you don't have to necessarily stay with somebody if you don't like them, if you fall out of love with them. And so you can marry, divorce however many times you want to. Again, that's your business and you do things your way. What has that resulted in? Well, it has resulted in a lot of heartbreak. Again, going back to children, a lot of children being raised in broken homes. It's resulted in a lot of court cases with custody battles and splitting of property and all sorts of turmoil. In fact, some of the worst things that you have ever seen involve drama that takes place in family court. that you, or you might not have seen it personally, but I've heard of it. Just drama that takes place in family court where there's a man and a woman that used to be in love with each other and married each other that are now having to fight over kids and property. It's terrible. What does God say about men and women? Well, he teaches that men are men and that women are women. What does man say? Well, a man can be a girl and a girl can be a boy. It doesn't matter. What has that resulted in? Well, very high suicide rates, for one, for people that go along with that stuff, and all sorts of turmoil that's going on. My point is, we could go on and on and on. The point is that God's way is better and it is safer for us. It will lead to happiness for us. If we will simply do things God's way, we will avoid a whole bunch of unnecessary troubles in this life. And so, what I hope we all do is go to the Bible, open up God's Word, understand that the one who created the human mind, the one who created the human body, the one who designed us, has given us a set of rules that are for our good. And He has all knowledge. He knows everything about everything. He knows everything about you and I. And we can know that if we do things His way is always for the best. It's always for our good. And so, friends, let's be people of the book, and let's avoid the wisdom of the world, the current thinking of the world that is constantly changing and fluctuating and very oftentimes hurts people. In fact, always remember this. Whenever man alters God's design, it always results in people getting hurt. But God's commandments are for our good. So let's go to those commandments and then humbly serve Him. I hope that helps in some sort of way this evening, friends. God bless.